Cinderella, one of the most beloved and enduring folk tales in history, is a story that has captivated audiences across the world for centuries. With roots that stretch back thousands of years, the tale of Cinderella has been told and retold in countless variations, each reflecting the culture, values, and imagination of the time. At its core, the story of Cinderella is one of transformation and hope, a narrative that resonates deeply with the human experience. It is a tale of a young person, often in tragic circumstances, whose life is marked by suffering and hardship. However, through a series of magical or fortunate events, this individual's fortune changes dramatically, leading to a life of happiness and fulfillment. The story of Cinderella is not just a simple fairy tale, it is a powerful metaphor for resilience, kindness, and the belief that goodness will ultimately prevail. Origins of the Cinderella tale. The origins of the Cinderella story are as varied and complex as the many cultures that have embraced it. The earliest known version of the tale dates back to ancient Egypt, around the 1st century BC, with the story of Rhodopis. In this version, Rhodopis is a Greek slave girl who marries the king of Egypt after he finds her sandal, which had been stolen by an eagle and dropped in his lap. The king, struck by the beauty of the sandal, searches for its owner and eventually finds Rhodopis, whom he marries. This ancient tale bears many similarities to the later versions of Cinderella, particularly the themes of a lost shoe and a royal search for the shoe's owner. Another early version of the Cinderella story comes from ancient China. The tale of Ye Xian, recorded during the Tang dynasty in the 9th century, tells the story of a young girl who is mistreated by her stepmother and stepsister. With the help of a magical fish, Ye Xian is able to attend a festival, where she captivates the attention of a king. However, she must leave the festival abruptly, losing her golden shoe in the process. The king finds the shoe and searches for its owner, eventually finding Ye Xian and making her his queen. This Chinese version of Cinderella introduces the familiar elements of a magical helper, a royal ball or festival, and the search for the owner of a lost shoe. As the Cinderella tale spread across different cultures and continents, it evolved and adapted to reflect the societal norms and values of each region. In Europe, the story of Cinderella became particularly popular during the 17th century, with the publication of Charles Perrault's Cinderella in 1697. Perrault's version is perhaps the most well-known and widely recognized, as it introduced many of the elements that have become synonymous with the Cinderella story, such as the glass slipper, the pumpkin coach, and the fairy godmother. Perrault's Cinderella was a product of its time, reflecting the French courtly ideals of grace, beauty, and virtue. The brothers Grimm, Jacob and Wilhelm, also contributed to the Cinderella tradition with their version of the tale, Aschenputtel, published in 1812. The Grimm brothers' version is darker and more somber than Perrault's, reflecting the harsher realities of life in 19th century Germany. In Aschenputtel, the magical elements are more subdued, and the story emphasizes the themes of hard work, perseverance, and the triumph of good over evil. The Grimm brothers' Cinderella is a tale of justice and retribution, with the wicked stepsisters receiving their comeuppance in a particularly gruesome manner. The core elements of the Cinderella story. Despite the many variations of the Cinderella tale, there are several core elements that remain consistent across different cultures and versions. These elements include the protagonist's tragic circumstances, the presence of a magical or supernatural helper, the transformative event that leads to the protagonist's change in fortune, and the search for the protagonist's true identity by a nobleman or royal figure. The protagonist of the Cinderella story is typically a young person, often a girl, who is living in a state of great misfortune. This character is usually depicted as kind, gentle, and virtuous, despite the harsh treatment they endure. In many versions of the tale, the protagonist is an orphan or has lost one parent, and they are forced to live with a cruel step-parent and step-siblings who treat them as a servant. The protagonist's tragic circumstances are a central aspect of the story, highlighting the contrast between their inner goodness and the external hardships they face. The magical or supernatural helper is another key element of the Cinderella tale. This figure, often a fairy godmother, wise old woman, or enchanted animal, provides the protagonist with the means to escape their dire situation and achieve their dreams. The helper's role is to assist the protagonist in overcoming the obstacles that stand in their way, often through the use of magic or other worldly powers. In some versions of the tale, the helper is a deceased parent or ancestor who watches over the protagonist and guides them toward their destiny. The transformative event in the Cinderella story is typically a royal ball, festival, or other grand occasion, where the protagonist has the opportunity to change their fate. With the help of their magical helper, the protagonist is able to attend this event, often disguised or transformed into a more beautiful and elegant version of themselves. At the event, the protagonist attracts the attention of a nobleman or royal figure, who is captivated by their beauty and grace. However, the protagonist must leave the event before their true identity is revealed, often losing a shoe or other item in the process. The final element of the Cinderella story is the search for the protagonist's true identity. The nobleman or royal figure, determined to find the person who has captured their heart, embarks on a quest to locate the owner of the lost shoe or item. This search often involves a series of trials or challenges, as the nobleman must navigate obstacles and deception to find the rightful owner. In the end, the protagonist's true identity is revealed, and they are united with the nobleman in a joyful and triumphant conclusion. The symbolism of the Cinderella story. The Cinderella story is rich with symbolism, much of which is deeply ingrained in the human experience. The tale's central themes of transformation, hope, and the triumph of good over evil resonate with audiences on a universal level, making Cinderella a timeless and enduring figure in folklore and literature. One of the most prominent symbols in the Cinderella story is the shoe, which serves as a metaphor for identity and self-worth. In many versions of the tale, the protagonist's shoe is a unique and delicate item, representing their true self and the qualities that set them apart from others. The shoe's perfect fit symbolizes the idea that the protagonist's identity is distinct and irreplaceable, and that their worth cannot be measured by external appearances or material possessions. The search for the owner of the shoe is a symbolic journey towards self-discovery and the recognition of one's true value. The transformation of the protagonist from a servant or outcast into a noble figure is another key symbol in the Cinderella story. This transformation represents the idea of inner beauty and virtue being recognized and rewarded, even in the face of adversity. The protagonist's ability to rise above their circumstances and achieve their dreams is a powerful message of hope and resilience, inspiring audiences to believe in their own potential for growth and change. The magical or supernatural elements of the Cinderella story also carry symbolic significance. The presence of a magical helper, such as a fairy godmother or enchanted animal, represents the idea of divine intervention or fate guiding the protagonist toward their destiny. These magical elements serve as a reminder that there are forces beyond our control that can influence our lives in unexpected ways. The idea of magic as a transformative power reflects the belief that even in the darkest of times, there is always the possibility of change and renewal. The Cinderella story also explores the theme of justice and retribution, particularly in the way the wicked step-parent and step-siblings are often punished for their cruelty. This theme is especially prominent in the darker versions of the tale, such as the Grimm brothers' Aschenputtel, where the stepsisters are blinded or otherwise harmed as a result of their actions. The idea that those who do evil will ultimately face consequences is a central tenet of the Cinderella story, reinforcing the belief in moral justice and the triumph of good over evil. Cinderella in popular culture. The Cinderella story has had a profound impact on popular culture, influencing countless works of literature, film, theater, and other forms of media. The tale's universal appeal and timeless themes have made it a favorite subject for adaptation and reinterpretation, with each new version adding its own unique twist to the story. One of the most iconic adaptations of the Cinderella story is Walt Disney's 1950 animated film Cinderella. Disney's version is a faithful adaptation of Charles Perrault's Cinderella, featuring the familiar elements of the glass slipper, the fairy godmother, and the pumpkin coach. The film was a critical and commercial success, and it remains one of Disney's most beloved classics. Disney's Cinderella has had a lasting impact on popular culture, shaping the way the story is perceived and retold in the modern era. In addition to the Disney film, there have been numerous other adaptations of the Cinderella story in film and television. These adaptations range from traditional retellings to more modern and unconventional interpretations. For example, the 1998 film Ever After, starring Drew Barrymore, reimagines the Cinderella story in a historical setting with a focus on the protagonist's independence and agency. The 2004 film A Cinderella Story, starring Hilary Duff, brings the tale into a contemporary high school setting, with the protagonist navigating the challenges of teenage life while pursuing her dreams. The Cinderella story has also been a popular subject in literature, with authors reinterpreting the tale in a variety of ways. For example, In Gregory Maguire's novel Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister, the story is told from the perspective of one of Cinderella's stepsisters, offering a different,